listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants with hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, and Ben Lee.
Let's go Giants! SF Giants! Let's go Giants! SF Giants!
Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball history, the San Francisco Giants. This is Torture Cast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. This is episode number 25 on March 25th, the Barry Bonds episode, everybody. And we're excited, and my name is Willie Dills. I'm back. I was away out of town for 10 days. I went to South by Southwest, then I went to Vegas to play golf. And it was just a whirlwind of fun times, but I'm glad to be back doing the show. And, of course, I'm joined by the one, the only Chad King. Chad, welcome to the show.
Yeah, not to be confused with the actor Ben Kingsley.
No.
Although he is a good one.
Chad
hey,
Kingsley,
welcome back.
Ben's brother. It's good to be back, man. We're missing Ben Lee tonight. He's at an all-store meeting at Apple. Probably talking about the iPad 4. I'm sure it's on its way out.
Oh, sure.
And, that's how they do it over there.
My iPad 3 is already antiquated. So.
Yeah, it's obsolete. I mean, come on. High def? No, dude. Give me 3D.
Blender.
Yeah, this is the iPad 3D, I think is what's coming out. But Giants are in full swing right now as far as spring training is concerned, and we're kind of starting to hit that point in spring training where, it's coming to a close, and we're going to start seeing more games. A couple things will be happening. I mean, first of all, people who might be a little bit tender or not quite ready for the season will, slow down a little bit on playing time. Some people have already pretty much stopped playing, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But also we're going to start to see people play a little bit closer to what they're going to do during the season. We're going to stop seeing people tool around and mess with things like mechanics and stuff. We're going to start to see a little more real baseball. I'm excited. This is the part of the spring training that I really like because we start to see them come back to the Bay Area. We play the A's. We do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. So we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different stuff going on with it. I feel a little out of the loop, I'll admit, because being at South by Southwest and then going to Vegas and playing 4 rounds of golf in 3 days didn't leave me a lot of time to catch up on some Giants baseball, but...
No, but not a bad way to spend your time either. So
No. I will not look back on that despairingly. No, definitely not. So let's talk about some of the people who look like they're not going to be ready for the season to start. And this has actually kind of changed. This changes a lot, these two guys here. We got a couple guys now who look like they're going to start on the DL. I'm talking about Freddie Sanchez and Ryan Vogelsong. Let's start with Freddie. We kind of expected that he was going to be iffy. He pretty much goes through surgery every single offseason at this point. And he just isn't quite ready to play yet. But this kind of changes how we're going to look at the second base position coming into the beginning of the season. Now, Chad, who do you think goes there? Who do you think starts there day one, the season opener?
I would have said Terrio or Fontenot, but, obviously the trade rumors came up this week. Mm-hmm. Regarding either one of them as trade bait for maybe a potential long reliever or fifth starter or something like that. Manuel Burris apparently is really impressing Bruce Bochy. He had a good workout regimen over the offseason, and he knows about it. So that gives him another option. And the way things are leaning, Burris might be the option to start at second base with Fontenot or Terrio actually backing him up. I don't know if that's going to hold. That's just kind of where the cards are leading right now.
I think it depends on if we can pull a trigger on a trade for some actual value. I don't think they want to just offload these guys.
No, they don't because they're too valuable.
Yeah, they want to pick up something that's literally going to help us out. And we brought up Vogelsong. That's really one of the major reasons why this move may happen, because we may start the season without a fifth starter. Yeah. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later, but let's talk about Burris real quick. I mean, he's hitting over 400 right now in spring training. His bat has always been his weakness. I mean, let's face it. He's fast as hell. He's not super outstanding defensively, but he's no slouch. I mean, he plays his position. So honestly, really the only thing that's been holding him back is his hitting. And if that's taken care of, if he's kind of figured something out, or maybe, his off-season workout regimen has kind of gotten him into actual hitting shape, maybe that's something that is not a weakness for him anymore. Obviously, spring training, it's too hard to really say, oh, you hit 405, he's going to hit, 400 in the bigs, but it does change the dynamic of the entire team when you add another speedy guy in on top of Pagan and some of the other speedy guys and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name, Blanco, who looks like he'll make the team as well and may even be on the starting 9. It changes everything as far as how the Giants play the game if they end up actually going with Burris as second base. So
this team has a lot of positions to figure out, and I think this is a bit of a surprise from what I think a lot of us thought at the beginning of spring training. A lot of these positions we thought were locked up. Shearholtz and right, Sanchez at second, Belt and Huff, obviously the battle for first and, maybe left field or something like that. But there's a lot in the mix now with Vogelsong going down, Sanchez starting on the season on the DL, Burris surprising, Blanco surprising. So this really throws a lot into the mix, and it's going to be really interesting in the next week or two.
Yeah, I mean, Bochy's going to have some real decisions to make, but it also makes it. I like a team that has interchangeable parts where you can mix and match and you can decide who maybe has a better potential against that day's pitcher. That's not a bad place to be. Even if
it could be a good problem to have.
Yeah,
Marty Lurie was talking earlier today, and a lot of people were calling in saying, "How could you even consider starting this guy here and starting this guy there? And obviously this person needs to be starting here." Typical fan reaction. But he's always the voice of reason, I would say. He's always very calm on the radio. He's very poignant, very objective. And he was saying, look, the Giants haven't had this kind of flexibility in their starting lineup and even in their reserves in years. Yeah. So this is a good problem to have.
Yeah, I mean, we're even talking about down to backup catcher. We're not even sure who's going to be there. I mean, it's kind of out of control how many people are stepping up. And
if everybody was hitting $150 and injured this spring, that would be a lot worse.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's definitely true. You look through the stats from spring training, and there's a lot of surprises there. There's just guys you don't expect to be hitting what they're hitting. Burris, I mean, we kind of expected Cabrera to be, a decent average hitter. But Hector Sanchez has gone out of control hot. Blanco, of course, Blanco we talked about. Burris, Crawford, Pill is having a really great spring. So, I mean, there's a lot going on here that's going to really complicate matters. But I'm just excited as hell for these decisions to actually come through and to see what Bochy actually decides to do. So let's talk real quick about the potential for trading Fontenot and Theriot. I mean, it kind of seems like we have a little bit of an overload over there at second base. I mean, obviously both Fontenot and Theriot can play in multiple positions, but and Burris to a certain extent as well. But I mean, we don't need these guys. It's a logjam, So if there's a solid fifth starter that we can pull in while Vogelsong is down, and potentially even step in if Zito doesn't start well, which doesn't look like he will at this point. To kind of just bench him and let this guy take over. Are there any names out there that you think actually make sense? Anybody that we can actually pick up?
Not at this point. I mean, they've been talking about, but this isn't a trade though. They're talking about Roy Oswalt, but he's a free agent, so that's kind of irrelevant for this trade. So there really isn't any. There aren't any names that I've ever heard of that could really help us with that fifth starter. And the fifth starter may only be used for the first couple of weeks of the season. I mean, granted, they could be used for the, logjam we're going to have in the middle of the summer when everybody gets hurt. But, where are they going to go in the meantime with Sanchez and Vogelsong and all these guys come back? So it presents that bit of a problem there. But I understand the need to potentially get rid of one of these guys. The problem is, each one of them has their upside. I'd say Fontenot has the best arm, and he's very versatile in the infield. Theriot probably has one of the better bats, and he's a good right-hander off the bench. He's got the experience, the age, and, of course, he just won a world championship with the Cardinals. I mean, he was starting Game 7 of the World Series. Starting second baseman on a world championship team, not too bad, right? So, clearly, he's established. He had 271 last year. Then you got Emmanuel Burris, who, is not an established major league hitter, but he's clearly the fastest out of them, and his potential upside is that maybe his hitting is getting a little bit better. And maybe he could mature into a 260 hitter this year. Yeah. I mean, who knows? And with the speed, that's probably better than a slow 270 hitter. True.
No, I would definitely agree. And also having him on the roster, even if he doesn't start all the time, is someone that you can put in as a pinch runner late in the game things like that. So it gives you something that Fontenot or Theriot, you're not going to put him in as a pinch runner and put pressure on a pitcher. You just don't have that option with those guys. So it's either one of them starts or the other one starts, and that's pretty much the flexibility there. When you add Burris in, you do get that speed. So, I got to say, if the value's there, pull the trigger. I say I'm all for it, Sapien. Pull the trigger. But if you're just going to grab somebody for a month or something like that, I don't know if it necessarily actually adds up in the long run. But obviously with Vogelsong down, unless somebody like Sir Camp can step in, it's going to be a little bit iffy to start the season off without somebody solid at the fifth spot.
And it's not really about their salary, because each Fontenot and Theriot are making $1 million this year, and if they waive them or trade them before the season starts, they only owe 25% of their salary. So really, if they trade them, they're only saving $750K.
Yeah, economically,
that's not even a point.
Yeah, economically, that's like it's a no-brainer. It's not even something to consider. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited to see where this goes. But let's talk about something else we're excited about. It's Buster Posey back at the plate, back playing some baseball behind the plate and at the plate. Looks pretty good right now. He looks kind of like Buster Posey, which I think we all expected, but of course we were also a little bit concerned. So I don't know. Do you want to talk a little bit about his time at the plate so far?
I think he's looking really good. Obviously, he's not as fast as I would hope he would be, but it's not surprising considering his injury, not to mention the fact that he's not pushing it. I think in the regular season, you're going to see him running a little bit faster because he's going to be at game speed. Right now in spring training, he's working on his arm, his positioning, his mechanics, his hitting. He's not going to bust his ass running 100% down the line. So I can understand that. He said that the biggest problem for him, because it's that left ankle, that was basically reconstructed in a way. He has pins and screws and all that in there, is hitting the inside of the bag. He's trying to hit the inside of the bag with his outside foot, his right foot. But, as a baseball player, sometimes as you're angling around the bases, things will change, and then you realize you got to hit it with your other foot. And so that's a concern for him. But he's looking really good otherwise. There was a bit of a concern. I held my breath. I was watching the game live a couple of nights ago against the Rangers. And Dave Moreland was on second base for the Rangers, and it was a routine single laced to right field. And Angel Pecan and Hell, whatever you want to call him. I still don't know exactly.
I'm going with on Hell.
It's easier to say, the dichotomous Angel, but Pagan.
Angel Pagan. Yeah,
Angel Pagan.
If you're a true American, that's how you say his name, Angel Pagan.
Angel Pagan picked up the ball and threw it to home. No, but he threw a nice one hopper to Posey, but it was known that Boch had told him, hey, look, certainly in spring training and maybe even in the regular season, if you got to play at the plate, I want you taking a step up from the box or from the plate. And sure enough, he was standing a good 2 feet in front of home plate. And when that ball came in, it was a one hopper. I was watching it live. And even though I was holding my breath, I immediately recognized he's not even in danger. He's not even anywhere close to the plate. So he fielded that one hopper perfectly, whipped around to try to do a swipe tag, and just missed Moreland as he slid across the plate. Now, granted, if he was back in his normal position, he would have been out.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind. It doesn't matter because it's spring training. I understand that. The concern I do have is that Moreland didn't try to take him out, but there's not, no one can say that if he was in the lane, that Moreland in a regular season game wouldn't have tried to take him out, much like Cousins did last year.
Yeah.
So that really begs the question, if it's going to be another May 25th game against anyone and Posey's got a late inning, extra inning play at the plate, what is he going to do? Well,
here's my issue with how he's doing it right now. He was injured doing that same basic thing. The Scott Cousins play, he was out in front of the plate when he caught the ball or didn't catch the ball.
I will agree that it was cut. I mean, a lot of baseball players will disagree in terms of the baseball professional code. Mm-hmm. But I still, as a Giants fan, and even trying to be third-party objective, I agree. He was not as far as he was during the Rangers game, of course. He was even a step ahead of that. But Posey was in front of the plate.
Yeah.
The Cousins play, and Cousins had a window to go.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on that.
Posey was in front of the plate and doing that same play where you whip around and try to do like a swipe tag, but Cousins came on the inside of the base path. But here's the thing is that I don't know if this necessarily protects you more from injury. I just don't feel like it does. I feel like, honestly, a better position would be to be behind the plate and wait for the ball, because the ball will get to you faster than you can turn and swipe tag, and everything's in front of you. So to me, that's what caused him to get injured, was him diving backwards and having a guy come down the inside portion of the plate, not where he was expecting him to be, but he had no idea where Cousins was because he's facing away from the plate, I would rather guys stand behind the plate, catch the ball, and then dive forward or step forward or whatever you have time to do at that point. If you're not going to just sit on the plate, if you're not going to Mike Scioscia the situation, then I think behind the plate makes more sense. I don't really understand why they teach these guys. I mean, Chad, you play more baseball than I do. Do you think, is there an actual reason for the in front of the plate as opposed to behind the plate?
Most of the catchers that do play, I would say, in front of the plate, most of them are going to have their leg or something blocking the lane to the plate.
Yeah.
Because that's your right as a catcher. They're going to stick that left leg out as they're receiving the ball, because most of the time, and see, the league I play in, yes, it's an amateur league and it's full contact, but you can't, the one rule that differs from the major leagues is that you cannot bowl over a catcher. That's illegal.
Yeah, you have to slide or something,
you
right?
You have to slide.
Yeah.
So in my league, I see catchers all the time blocking the plate because they know, a guy can't come in like a linebacker. But in the major leagues, it's different. Anything goes, and a guy's not going to get a yellow flag or get kicked out of the game for bowling over the catcher. So, but personally, I've never seen in Major League Baseball or even my league a catcher purposefully setting up behind home plate.
Yeah, I've never seen it either, but I feel. It's interesting to me. Like, see, there's a couple things in professional sports that I don't quite get, and these things kind of change. Like, I don't get why in the NFL coaches tend to choose to receive the ball more than kick it off. Like, that's kind of changing over time. I don't really get why catchers don't stand behind the plate rather than in front of it, because you keep the whole play in front of you, and you can end the ball. And they've talked about it before, like a second baseman who reaches forward and swipes the ball back to tag a guy trying to steal second, that takes longer than waiting for the ball. The ball is moving faster than your arm can move, you know? And I feel like it's the same with this, where if you catch the ball in front, you literally have to stop, turn, and swipe tag backwards. And I feel like not only does it give you a lower opportunity, a lower chance to get a guy out, but I believe it also puts you in a more dangerous position of turning into a blind situation where you don't even know where the guy's coming. Now, I'm sure the pitcher behind you is supposed to give you an indication, right? The guy who's backing up the plate is supposed to maybe tell you inside or outside, whatever it might be. But the fact of the matter still is that you don't exactly know until you turn. So
it's a unique position because, I'm an infielder. I primarily play second base. And so I'm used to taking throws from the catcher at second base on stolen bases. And typically you're hovering over second base. Literally standing over it, both feet on either side, maybe a little bit in front of it towards the first base side. You receive that throw, and you're just slapping straight down.
Yeah, you're supposed to just slap straight down, yeah.
Slapping straight down. But, the key difference is at any of the positions, first base, of course, there are collisions, but primarily there aren't. Second and third, there's primarily sliding plays. Home is a unique position because at second or third, you can't bowl the shortstop over or the second baseman over. You'd absolutely be thrown out of the game. But at home, you can't necessarily stand just like a second baseman over home plate, receive the ball, and do a slap tag. You're going to get your ass bowled over. A guy's going to come right into you. They're going to you're blocking the plate. If I slide, I'm going to get my spikes, caught in your shoe or your shin guard. I'm not going to reach home plate. The only choice I have is to knock your ass over. So it is a precarious position, and I guess I'm not an expert enough at baseball to really tell you why you might be wrong for a catcher to line up behind home plate, other than you expose the problem of the ball hitting the runner. And I only mean not at home plate, because obviously if that happens, the guy would be safe anyway.
The guy would have been safe anyway, yeah.
It's maybe potentially a throw that's 3 or 4 feet up the line that you might still have a chance to grab and tag, as opposed to him flying past you if you were behind him. Other than that, I honestly don't have any rebuttal to your proposition.
I think if your main objective is to protect your catcher, I think that's a better position. I think it's just Obviously Bochy has coached Posey to say, look, we'll give up a run here and there if it means you don't go down for the season.
Oh, I think that's what it's going to be this year. I think if he catches 120 games this year, which would be a great number to shoot for, it's, hey, look, if we're up by a lot or they're up by a lot, don't sacrifice anything. But even if it's a late inning game or an extra inning game and it's close, it's not worth it. If we lose, we lose. At least we still have you, because you're going to make that loss up later in the season with your hitting.
Yeah.
So
and I mean, let's be honest here. The game where we lost him, we were in extra innings. It was one of those. We would have lost this game. We came back. We tied it.
Well, that's the irony. Is we came back with like 3 or 4 runs in the ninth.
Yeah, and Bochy now is probably looking at that situation saying, fact of the matter is, we would have rather lost this game than, than lose Posey. So I think that's really where he's at now is, look, that one game in May doesn't make as much of a difference as
that seriously
you
is the butterfly
down.
effect. You think about one base hit that didn't happen in the bottom of the ninth. The Giants would have lost. Posey would have been healthy. We would have known none the wiser. And who knows what
it would have just been a sad loss, and we would have moved on, right?
Would have moved on. We wouldn't be talking about this.
No, we would not be talking about one particular game in May against the Marlins.
Well, Dave Moreland, I guess, was interviewed by quite a few reporters after the game, and he's not as sensitive to the topic, of course, because he's not around the Giants, and he obviously understands the play, but he apparently was a little bit ticked off about all the questions. Like, why do you guys care so much? It's spring training. It was a single. I scored from second. What's the big deal? He just didn't quite grasp the brevity of the.
Well, situation. In San Francisco, we care a lot about plays at the plate right now, and we're a little bit. We might be a little bit raw when it comes to that subject.
I didn't expect to have the reaction I did, but I was watching live, and seriously, Posey was starting to line up in front of home plate. I saw Moreland come around third, saw that throw come in, and I
hold your breath, right?
My sphincter clenched. And
I know it's just one of those things. It's how a Giants fan will react forever when Buster Posey has a play at the plate. It's just how it's going to be. Let's talk about the Barry Zito real quick. Obviously the Posey stuff is going to come up throughout the year, and hopefully we talk about him throughout the year because he's playing throughout the year. Please, let's talk about Zito though. Zito, he's had some poor starts and. Not look, especially the most recent one. If it comes down to it, and obviously with Vogelsong down, Zito's not even the 5th starter at this point. Zito's the 4th starter, and who knows who the 5th starter is going to be. Who do you think is the best option if we do grab somebody and Zito has to step down as the 5th starter and we need somebody else there?
That was a big topic today on KNBR, and it was funny because I think it was Andrew Baggerly who was tweeting today after he got shelled, 5 earned runs, 9 hits in 2 1/3 innings. He only faced 18 hitters, and 9 of them got hits. Back-to-back home runs by, of course, Pierzynski, who got a healthy dose of booze.
Who just hates the Giants, like, in his heart. I know
he hates the Giants, and Giants hate him. Yep. I mean, he is just a cancer. But anyway, and Rios, who, of course, was, trade bait for Tim Lincecum a few years ago. Yeah. Which is interesting. I'm glad we don't have him in right field and not Lincecum. So that's a good thing. But anyway, he said, let the whining begin or something on Twitter. And sure enough, I was listening to KNBR, and granted, they screen their calls and they try to get maybe more controversial people on and all that. But every single caller was like, that's it, off with Zito's head. You got to put in Burris or Surkamp or, Runsler or whoever. I mean, they were just going off. And again, Marty Lurie, the voice of reason, said, look, I'm not going to tell you that Zito is the best 5th starter in Major League Baseball, but he is a veteran. He has a proven track record, and Eric Surkamp has no better stats than him in his limited Major League Baseball career.
It's true. Yeah.
How can you as a fan come out and just say, I know Eric Surkamp is going to be better than Barry Zito? You can't.
You can't. No, you can't, but if you look at spring training so far, he is looking a little bit in the same exact number of innings pitched. He's got a better ERA. He's got more strikeouts. He's got a lower batting average against. Much lower whip. I mean, after you give up a 500 or whatever it is.
79 batting average against, okay?
So. But he's also given up 3 home runs in 16 innings. He's not, 441. It's not like he's lighting it up.
No.
266 average against, not fantastic. But I mean, honestly, the real thing here is that as a fifth starter, take away the contract. As a fifth starter, Zito is serviceable, fine, totally fine as a fifth starter. The real fact is that as a fourth starter, no, it's no good. We got to figure out what we're gonna do while Vogelsong is gone. But I don't think anyone's taking away Zito's spot as fifth starter, at least at the beginning of the year. Now, if he goes out there and loses 6 straight,
let him start.
Yeah,
and you have to let him fail.
Yeah,
it's not just because of the money. Even if he was just earning 5 or 6, 7 million this year, he's a veteran. He has a Cy Young award. You have to let him fail. And I mean, yes, I know a lot of people would say, oh, well, he failed last year and he failed the year before. Well, we still don't know the track record that Eric Surkamp would have. It's a very long season. It's 162 games. It's 6 months. You let him have, 5, 6, 8, 10 starts. And yeah, I agree. If Zito in the regular season has a 6 ERA or a 5.7 ERA after
like
10 starts,
1 and 8 or something after 10 starts, then the brass has the opportunity and the right to sit him down and say, look, I know you're making 20 mil this year, but I'm sorry. This ain't working. But we got to win games.
Be going to long relief.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It could be that he comes out and if he's a 500 pitcher for the entire season, then he's doing his job as a fifth starter.
Oh, that's his job.
So, if he can just maintain that, and the good news is, as a fifth starter, you're generally going up against weaker, you're going up against the fifth starter in the other team more often than not. So we'll see. And it also depends on the Giants' offense, too, when he goes out on the mound. Are the Giants able to score? Because they'll probably have to score 5 or 6, not 2 or 3,
That's the thing that has been so annoying about Zito, is that most of the time he is a subpar pitcher. But then 1 out of every 5 starts, I would say, he throws a gem.
Yeah. Well, he's still got it in him. The guy knows how to, he knows what pitching involves.
What is it that he can't harness the rest of the time?
I think honestly what it is since the velocity is so down, he has to be pinpoint accurate to do well. And that's something that a pitcher just isn't going to have every game. It's just not. You can't, replicate that every single game unless you're Sergio Romo and you pitch 1 inning. But the thing is that the thing is that Zito has the Cy Young. He has all that going for him, but he's also throwing like 87 miles an hour. So it's at this point it's like, let the guy go out there and fail before we decide off of his head. I think Surkamp does better starting in the minors this year and showing what he can do a little bit. Again, his numbers are not fantastically better, and like you said, as far as major league starts go, he's not that much better either. I mean, he had a couple really good games early last year, but then it kind of fell apart. So the thing too is that Zito, as much as we talk crap about him, as much as the guy has not proven that this contract is worth it at all, the guy. I'm always going to have a soft spot in my heart for the fact that he did not make one complaint when he got left off of the postseason roster for all three rounds.
Dugout,
yeah,
and he was cheering everybody on.
And he showed up at the parade and he did his thing, and he did not say once that he resented the Giants brass or any of his other teammates. All the teammates you could tell still had a lot of respect for the guy. And I'm going to have a lot of respect for him too, just for that one thing right there. I mean, if nothing else happens in his career, that was class right there in 2010. So, well,
maybe we can get him to have a cocktail with Jamie Moyer and maybe learn something.
Yeah, this Jamie Moyer's got something figured out. I don't understand. Let's talk about Matt Cain real quick. Matt Cain looking great. This is really fantastic. He's not really tooling around like Lincecum is. He's kind of got his stuff. And this is the thing about Matt Cain. It's like, what is different about this guy's body and constitution that it's like he doesn't get hurt, and he doesn't. I'm knocking on wood, by the way, as I say that. And he doesn't seem to go out and struggle. Like even when he has a bad game, it's not that bad. I can't remember him getting shelled like horribly in recent memory. He just kind of continues to go out there, and it seemed like from the first game to now in spring training, he's just been kind of Matt Cain the whole time. Like, this guy is just the same. He doesn't have ups and downs like other pitchers do.
This is the number one reason why the Giants need to re-sign him. He is not just that he's a horse, not that he's durable and he pitches 200 innings every season It's not just that he doesn't get shelled all of the time. I mean, it's all of that together. I know the Giants need to come up with the money, and I know Zito's on the books for another year in 2013, but they have to look at that and say, hey, look, Zito's one more year next year. That'll be the first year of the new contract for Kane. So they're going to have to double up, well, triple up, I should say, because it's Lincecum, Kane, and Zito are going to be all on the $20 million plus books for 1 year in 2013. And that's huge. And I admit, I mean, that's 60 million plus out of their 130 mil payroll. I mean, that's basically half their payroll
on three guys.
Pitchers.
Yeah.
And one of them being ineffective. But if they don't re-sign this guy, and he wants to stay with the Giants, he's made it publicly clear he wants to stay with the Giants. I mean, that doesn't mean he's going to take a significant hometown discount, but still, they need to get this guy, signed. And so there's been a little bit of rumblings this spring saying he would really like to have the extension worked up and finished by the end of spring training, and that hasn't happened yet. So a lot of people are looking into that saying, oh, what does that mean? Is he going to be distracted? Are the Giants not willing to pay him $22 million a year? They need to. If they don't, it's going to be a huge mistake.
I agree. I think this guy is something so special, and to let him go would just be a travesty. And the thing is, you could talk about Lincecum may have already earned his way into the Hall of Fame, right? I mean, when you get 2 Cy Youngs in a row that early in your career,
and a World Series championship,
exactly. And he got the Babe Ruth Award for like best player throughout the playoffs and all that stuff. But really, Kane outpitched him in that playoffs,
in the playoffs, he did. Kane did allow a single earned run.
Yeah, and the thing is, I feel like legitimately Kane is more of a Hall of Famer at this point in his career than Lincecum is, even though Lincecum had that dominance. It's like
that's another good reason is the fact that you get to the postseason, he has a track record for shutting everybody down.
Yeah, you can't score. You cannot score on the man in the postseason. So, I agree. The guy is absolutely special, and think about if you keep these two together for their entire careers. Like, how cool would that be? I don't know. I can't even think of another 1-2 punch like that stayed together for their entire careers. In really the history of baseball.
You had long ones with, like, say, Maddox and Glavine and
Stoltz. The three for the Braves and stuff was great. You had Marichal and Perry for a while for the Giants, which was pretty cool. But you really, for entire careers, like spanning like 15 years, I don't know if there's another 1-2 punch like these two guys. I mean, we've had it put together here and there. Like Randy Johnson, Curt Schilling. Like, that was, like, pretty dominant for a couple of years there with the Diamondbacks. But
for like 2 years.
Yeah, but keeping them together for this long, it would just be a really cool thing. And I think San Francisco would be proud to look back on that if we can make that happen. So let's talk about the starting outfield. It's looking like it might not be as set. We talked about it early on. It might not be as set as we thought it would be. Schierholtz is not having a fantastic spring, and Blanco is tearing it up, absolutely. Plus, he gives you crazy speed. And, that's something that we've talked about a lot on this show, that we like crazy speed. So, I don't know. I mean, how do you feel? Like, we've also mentioned on the show that we think Schierholtz has kind of earned that spot, as far as being with the Giants for as long as he has, really paying his dues as a backup for so long, and having, of course, he definitely is a better fielder. Obviously, the arm is one of the best in baseball. But hitting 233 as compared to 352, 9 stolen bases, it's pretty hard to deny that that's something exciting that you kind of want to see in the starting lineup. And Schierholtz hasn't hit a home run. His power is not really showing. So how would you feel about Blanco getting the starting nod on opening day?
I think he deserves to be on the team at this point, but I don't think he deserves to start yet. I mean, you can't take spring training. Yeah, he's hitting 350 and he's leading the major leagues in spring training with 9 stolen bases and all that. I absolutely think he should be on the roster, but Schierholtz has earned it. Okay. And I think it's not similar in the sense of the Zito thing, because he's not a Cy Young Award winner. He's not earning $20 million a year, but he has earned it. He proved it last year despite his injury. He was reputable. He hit well. He had power. He had timely hitting. Hit well with runners in scoring position, the whole thing. So you can't take 30 or 40 at bats in spring training and say he's washed up and Blanco is the next savior.
No, I agree with that. I would say, though, that Blanco would be a fun guy to watch be our leadoff hitter for a while, because we've talked about Pagan as a leadoff hitter, and that's probably where we're going to be at the beginning of the year. But Blanco is more the prototypical leadoff hitter, a guy who's just got so much speed. He takes walks. And he seems to have enough line drive and gap to gap hitting that he'd be a solid guy there. Now I don't know how he's going to be able to do that for an entire year or anything like that. But I agree with what you're saying that Schierholtz, I think, take away spring training because he earned it before that. I think what he did was he earned it with the years, coming up to this year, and you can't just go, okay, spring training you hit 230, so you're down. I think the guy definitely earned at least to get a good solid 2-3 months or 2-3 weeks, maybe a month as the starting guy, and then if he's struggling still at that point, Blanco should be on the team, and then maybe you stick him in there. And again, you lose a guy who knows right field at San Francisco.
That's a huge thing.
Yeah, and that's a really big deal. And also, I mean, what position? Who plays right field? Is it Blanco, or do you move, Cabrera over there? I don't know. So I think it's as far as like defensively, the whole package. I think Schierholtz makes more sense at right field right now. So
yeah, well, Pagan's hitting 200 this spring, and so is Pablo. Obviously, you're not going to be benching Pablo because he's established on this team, but Pagan isn't. I mean, he wasn't tearing it up with the Mets. I mean, he was a serviceable, decent outfielder with a decent average and decent speed and decent arm and all that stuff. So why wouldn't Blanco start over Pagan instead of Schierholtz?
Yeah, no, it's definitely true.
I'm just throwing that out there as an argument.
Blanco makes more sense as a center fielder anyway, to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to say, well, Schierholtz is hitting 233, and so given all his history with the Giants and what he's earned, screw that, we're going to put in Blanco. Well, then why wouldn't you say the same thing to Pagan, who doesn't even have any history with the Giants?
No, it's very true. You're very right. But I think the reason you don't hear that very much is because we didn't make a lot of big acquisitions over the offseason, and Pagan was one of them, was one of the biggest, basically. So that's kind of why nobody's really thinking about benching him. But you make a good point. I mean, the numbers are very similar, and Pagan's even had a worse spring training. So it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. And, either way, Blanco needs to be on this team. If anything, he's a late inning defensive replacement in center field or a pinch runner. He's got a lot of, and in the National League, you need guys who can come in and pinch hit late with some speed too. I mean, not just as a pinch runner, a guy pinch hitting late who can maybe like lay down a bunt, bring in that infield, all that kind of stuff. It adds to the entire dynamic. So let's talk also about the Giants shutting their offense down late this spring. For a little while there, the Giants were the number one offensive team in spring training.
Well, that's what we talked about last week. And I mean, I knew that we put the nail in the coffin, knock on wood and all that stuff.
Podcasters jinx. Yeah.
Oh my God. We were talking about it saying, oh my gosh, they're leading in home runs and batting average and the whole thing. What's going on here? And sure enough, the baseball gods answered and said, okay, well, it's almost a regular season. So we're going to show you what the 2012 Giants are really going to be like.
Yeah.
And they got
17 consecutive innings.
Yeah, and the only reason that was broken up because it was a Brett Hill, what was it, like a 9-iron that he used to golf out of the stadium. I was watching the game there. That ball was out of the zone, and he golfed it out of the yard. But, Jamie Moyer, 12 perfect batters, or 12 batters in a row set down by him, 4 perfect innings. He's 49 years old. He throws about 81 miles an hour. And he was just befuddling the Giants. So
he's crafty. The guy's crafty.
Oh, the crafty old veteran.
And the thing is, too, if you're a major league player and you're always hitting the ball at like 90 plus, and then a guy comes in, throws 80 with some weird off movement on it, it does throw guys off, especially in the middle of spring training when they don't even have their timing yet anyway. Now all of a sudden they're playing like backyard baseball with this guy who's throwing up these, just ridiculously slow pitches. I think it just kind of threw him for a loop a little bit. I don't think the Giants will get shut down by Moyer in regular season ball. But
no, I don't think he will.
Yeah,
no, I don't think he will. But
it is kind of fun watching this guy pitch, though. 49 years old, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I mean, I don't know how long he's going to go, but hey, go to 50. Why not? That'd be awesome.
Satchel Paige it, dude. Go 50 plus, man.
Yeah,
why
Satchel
not?
Paige it.
That's
sweet.
That's the like thing you can do, right? That's a verb. I'm going to go Satchel Paige it right now. Yeah. But yeah, it was a little bit embarrassing, I'll say. For sure. But you know what? The Giants they excited me enough with what they did early. I think it's okay that this happened. I don't know. I still feel like this is a better offensive team if everyone stays healthy than last year. Would you agree, or do you think like this is really how it's going to be again? Are we going to have to feel this pain again?
I think they're going to be in the lower quarter of the league. I really do. But
Sure.
I cannot imagine being as bad as last year. It was historically bad. It was their fourth lowest offense in franchise history. And they've been around since the late 1800s.
Yeah, that's like through dead ball era and stuff.
So
yeah.
I'm sorry, but yeah, if you're including, because they are including the dead ball era to be the fourth worst offense, and they were actually the worst offense about halfway through the season. So they actually were a little bit better in the second half. You can't get much worse than that. So I agree with you. I think the fact that they've added a little bit of speed and potentially a little bit higher average is just going to naturally translate into more runs. And granted, if you have Buster Posey, the run producer that he is, stay healthy most of the year, that's going to translate again into more runs. So
yeah. Now, one more thing before we move on is Hector Sanchez. Do you believe, now he's hitting 438, 4 homers, 10 RBIs, tied for the lead as far as all Giants in spring training and RBIs. Do you think he's earned a spot on the team?
That is a tough one. I assume the Giants are going with 2 catchers breaking camp. I know some teams will go with 3, but I'm assuming they're going with 2.
Yeah, I don't think the Giants are going with 3. I think it's 2. Yeah,
They traditionally go with 2.
Because we also got Pablo, who could strap it on if need be.
Yeah, he's the emergency guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he did in the minors. I mean, I went to San Jose Giants games and saw just 3-4 years ago and was watching him catch. And that's when he was, the big.
Well, I was at his first game as a Giant, and he played catcher in that game.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I forgot about
he
that.
did, and he looked great. I was so excited about Pablo Sandoval as our new catcher. I was just like, "This is it. We got that. We got our guy."
It's funny that I remember the minor league games, but I don't remember the debut. So, but it's a tough call because the other 2 guys are proven major leaguers, not with the stick. Obviously, we know that, but. What is the difference in terms of, I think that, Whiteside calls a good game, as opposed to Hector Sanchez maybe hitting 280 and, hitting 15, 20 home runs this year, which is way more than the other 2 guys could do. So, again, he's 22 years old. We have to keep that in mind. He's really young. He's really raw. He has a lot of time to develop. And if you keep him off of the major league roster right now, he's only going to get more at bats in the minor leagues. I know they call it seasoning, but he's 22 years old. I think he does need a little bit more seasoning. He had a great Dominican ball and he's had a great spring training, but other than that, he's just shown flashes beyond that. So the only thing is that Bochy has come out and said, "Hey, he's given me cause to think about this a little bit more."
No,
he's seeing the ball well. He's a switch hitter. The pitchers have liked the games that he's called. So,
I think honestly, I think I'm ready to see him. If we had a backup catcher who wasn't as poor of an offensive threat as the 2 guys that we have, right? This is the problem that I have. If you pick Whiteside, you pick Stewart. You're knowing what you're getting. You know exactly that you're getting a 220 guy. You're getting a guy who doesn't have a lot of pop. Basically, you're getting defensive backups, right? I feel like Hector Sanchez, especially if Buster Posey is going to be sitting as often as he's probably going to be sitting, which is we're going to really protect this guy this year. I feel like if you have a guy who can come in and actually be an offensive threat, it's just so much more important at this point. If you know he's going to play as much as he's going to play, I kind of feel like I'd like to see Hector get the nod as the backup. And I think he learns a lot at the major league level that he doesn't learn in the minor leagues. Sure, he gets more at-bats, but his at-bats are going to be against minor league pitching. Yeah. His major league at-bats are going to be against major leaguers. He's also going to be sitting in the dugout while Dave Righetti is talking about, these games that these guys, he'll be sitting with Buster Posey as they talk about the game plan for the games. You've got the ability as a major league manager or the pitching coach to call the games for the guy too, and that happens a lot with young guys. They don't even call the game. So I don't think necessarily that should, preclude him from being able to come up and be the backup catcher for us. I honestly feel like he's got a lot to learn, and he could learn it at this level. And I just love his bat right now. And I don't know. To me, it overshadows the defensive nature of the other two guys and the ability to learn by hitting every day.
I wouldn't be against him making the opening day roster, but if I was betting in Vegas, I would say he's starting in AAA. It's going to be Whiteside or Stewart.
I think that's more probable for sure, but I don't know. Personally, as a fan, I would really love to see him start.
Well, I'm curious because, like I was saying earlier, it is a long season, and if you get Whiteside or Stewart, whoever's going to be the backup, just flailing in May and into June, or April and May, and maybe even into June, is going to be similar to a Posey call-up. Because if you remember, everybody was calling for Posey to be on the opening day roster in 2010.
Because Molina was struggling, and exactly.
And they ended up calling him up in late May, and he obviously tore it up after that. So, it could be a similar thing. They're like, hey, look, try to get another, 50 to 100 at-bats in AAA. We'll see what our guys do up here, and if you're still on fire and our guys are struggling, then maybe we'll make a call.
Then we'll see you then. Let's talk about. Oh, did you want to talk about this big play here, Bowker? What's going on with John Bowker?
Yeah, so the Oakland Athletics, they're in Japan for a 2 or 3 game series against the Seattle Mariners to open up the season. Now, what's really weird about this, on a side note, is that they go ahead and open up the Major League season on Wednesday against the Mariners, and then they fly back and play an exhibition series against the Giants before they resume the regular season.
Wow,
that's gotta
so
be weird.
Strange. Yeah, that's really strange.
I mean, as a player, that's got to be really hard to kind of go to a foreign country, ramp up, play, a series, then fly, 20-something hours back to California, and then go play an exhibition series against the Giants. 3 games, and then ramp back up for the regular season. But anyway, they've been playing some exhibition games over in Japan, and I guess in today's lineup for the Yomiuri Giants, ironically enough, the Giants, John Bowker, the ex-San Francisco Giant, first baseman.
Everybody expected to start raking the ball any moment.
Absolutely.
And
he was like
did.
the next best thing, right?
Yeah.
He was the next Hector Sanchez.
Yeah, the guy. I mean, I remember when he started opening day for us, I was like, yeah, man, Bowker's going to be the man. I was
Bowker,
drinking
baby.
the Kool-Aid, and he just never did. The guy's like a dead pull hitter, though, from the left side. And I don't know if it works anymore. You know what I mean? Like, unless you got sick power, it just doesn't work. You got to be Barry Bonds or a dead pull hitter. It just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't play.
So anyway,
anymore.
he went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts.
Okay, there you go.
So there you go. Anyway,
so Bowker, we salute you. Best of luck, man. Hope you make it back to the States. Hey, he could become Mr. Baseball over there, dude. Remember Tom Selleck? Was that Tom Selleck?
Yeah, it's Tom Selleck.
Yeah, Mr. Baseball, I mean, they got great massages over there, dude. Great massages. All right, so yeah. Let's talk about our new favorite guys before we get out of here. We'll do these. We'll hate some people. We'll talk about why we're going to win it all, and then we'll see you next time. Let's talk about our new favorite guys. Go, Chad. Who do you got?
All right, so we were just talking about him, Hector Sanchez, and even though I wasn't the one that was saying that he absolutely needs to be on the starting day roster, he is my new favorite guy because he really is showing what he is. He's an offensive powerhouse. He's a switch hitter. He's going to have versatility. He's only 22 years old. He's got a lot of potential. And so he is my new favorite guy. I think he has it's fine if he doesn't make the opening day roster. I'm not going to be against that. Get some more ABs. You're 22. You got a whole, 15, 20 years ahead of you. So do what you can, prove your worth, be a good backup to Posey, and then who knows, maybe in a year or 2, you're going to be the next guy. Posey's going to move to first or something like that.
Now, does it seem to you that it's a little bit, it's like just our luck that we end up having 2 guys, like 2 potential guys like this, I mean, that are so close to each other in age, and it's just kind of like, really? Like, that's our other most promising guy is also a catcher.
We also have a logjam at catcher right now. I mean, the other guys have been proving very good as well. Tommy Joseph and
Tommy Joseph. I know, it's crazy.
These guys.
Can we get one of these guys to play second base or left field or something?
We got to get these guys to go play a different position.
Yeah,
Tommy Joseph is still sitting at second in number of home runs for the Giants in spring training, even though he was sent down like 2.5 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know,
he has
right?
3 home runs this spring.
Yeah,
so.
no, I mean, is a lot of guys who have been showing some serious skills at the catcher position in the minor leagues for the Giants. I don't know, it's exciting because also with Posey's injury, we kind of all expect that at some point he will move to first base. I know he wants to be a catcher, but realistically, on a rebuilt left ankle, like how long can you do that, right? So we'll see what happens with that, and if Posey can develop into an even better hitter in a few years, which I fully expect he'll do, he makes a lot of sense at first base. So my favorite guy is also a first baseman, and I'm talking about Brett Pill. Brett Pill has definitely made himself part of the conversation at first base. As much as we talk about Brandon Belt and how we want to see him play, and Brandon Belt's been a hot topic on this podcast for a long time. But the fact of the matter is that Brett Pill's got 10 RBIs in spring training, 3 home runs. He still strikes out too much, but he makes things interesting as far as who should be over there. Obviously, I think Aubrey Huff is the man. He's going to be there, and it's only going to be if he really struggles that he loses that spot. But I don't know. I just like this kid. I hope that we get to see more out of him at some point because he is an older minor leaguer. He's not 22 like Hector Sanchez. So
no.
The guy's, but he's putting up good numbers right now in spring training. He's definitely, getting his name into the mix. So I like watching this guy hit. I like it a lot. And of course, hitting a home run each of your first 2 games at the big league level is always exciting.
That'll make you memorable.
Yeah. Let's hate some people right now. You got a good one this week, dude. So I can't even believe this is a thing.
Yeah, so the Dodgers are obviously filing or have filed for bankruptcy. They're going through bankruptcy court right now. I don't know if it's Chapter 11, 7, or 72, or whatever it is. Brian Stowe, his family, is suing the Dodgers for negligence, for their lack of security for the incident that happened a year ago. And so the Dodger lawyers are saying, hey, you can't sue us when we're filing for bankruptcy. It's illegal to do that. Now, it's not illegal to do that. No. But they were filing for a petition to block the lawsuit. And it just gets to the point where you're like, really? I mean, I know these guys are paid for, they're paid to do this, and I understand that, but come on, So anyway, a Delaware bankruptcy court just this week, actually on Monday, ruled that indeed the Stows could move along with their lawsuit. So Dodger lawyers, please step aside. They will move forward.
Sit down.
The only thing that the Stowe family had to agree to is that the lawsuit would not exceed $300 million. So I think the Stows are okay with that.
Yeah, I think so.
They're not looking for $1 billion. They're just looking for something to make a statement, obviously to help with the medical bills, because, Stowe, he may not even walk again, but right now he has the cognitive ability of a child, and he probably won't recover anything more than that.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to take care of him for the rest of his life. He's 40 years old. I mean, he can live another 30, 40, 50 years.
40 years, and they'll have to take care of him that entire time. They should definitely be compensated for that. I mean, that's such a horrible thing that happened. But also, like what you said about making a statement, I think that's very valid, the fact that other ballparks should be aware that, people come to the stadium to have fun, but some people don't come to have fun. Some people come to be total jerks, and get into fights and get belligerent drunk and do things, and that we need to be able to know that that's not going to happen to us, because it's a different attitude. People come to games and they get out of control. And,
I wouldn't think going to Dodger Stadium I would feel too threatened. I mean, I know there is the rivalry, but I wouldn't have thought what happened to Stowe would potentially happen. Yeah. I did one year, actually, during a regular season game. This was in 2002. I went to a Raider game. It decked out in my full Niner regalia. I mean, it was Niners and Raiders. It was when Jeff Garcia was still with the team. Mm-hmm. And so I was tailgating with my friends, most of them being Raider fans because they had the season tickets that that I bought off of them. And it was a whole big thing. And I got verbally razzed and everything. But at one point, I remember I was up in the bleachers with all my buddies, surrounded by silver and black. And I had to pee like a wildebeest. And I swear to God, I was like a woman. I was like, hey, so like, can one of you guys go with me?
Be my Raider buffer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I needed some sort of Raider buddy to go with me. And they all looked at me, they smiled, and they said, "You're on your own, buddy."
Oh man.
And so
yeah, I've been to a Raiders game too in my Niners gear, and yeah, it can get hairy out there for sure.
Yeah, I was sitting there at the urinal doing my thing, and everybody was razzing me, but it was all good natured. But it's sad that something like this ever happened, and the security's got to be a little bit better. Maybe not in the bathrooms by the urinals, but certainly in the parking lot.
But it's true that it can go from good-natured razzing to fighting really easily, though. I mean, I've seen it a bunch of times.
Now, all that razzing. See, this is the problem. We don't know exactly what happened with Stowe, and I'm not saying that he said or his friends said anything. That's not what I'm saying at all.
But even if they did, that doesn't make this okay.
It doesn't make it right at all. But I will admit that all that razzing is bait. They're trying to hook you. Mm-hmm. And if I turn around and said something back to them, of course they wouldn't have sat there and probably just laughed at me. Who knows? Maybe something would have happened.
No, it's true. And you gotta, as an opposing fan, you have to be prepared for it. But as the fans who are there, and I remember Game 4 against the Phillies here in San Francisco, I had Phillies fans sitting right in front of me, and I gave it to them relentlessly that entire game. I mean, the guy's ear must have, his ears were ringing by the time he left the stadium, because of how much I was screaming into his just face and body. Like, I just was giving it to him so hard from behind him the entire game. That sounds horrible. I'm not going to ever say that again. Yeah, but you guys know what I mean. But the fact of the matter is, like, there was never any, move towards violence. It was all just part of the deal, and they knew, and they were shaking it off. And when they scored, they were cheering, back at us and everything. And when we won, it was like, the end all be all of, like, I'm just going to destroy your livelihood with words, but the fact of the matter, like, we never got towards violence, and that should be how it is. It should be like, I don't mind someone giving me crap about my team and who I like, because then I'll give it back to them, but it has to stay on that good natured level. And if it gets beyond that, the stadium needs to have security in place to be able to handle that, because it does happen, So anyway, let's hate these guys.
All right, so who do you hate?
Okay, I'm going to hate on Jamie Moyer. I know I talked about how fun it was to watch, but it's not fun when you're doing it to us, dude. So can you just not anymore? I mean, dude, 49 years old, throwing 81 miles an hour. Save it for a week later, okay? But I don't know. Honestly, that was just the most frustrating thing. I didn't watch it actually happen, but like, there was a little bit of a Jamie Moyer resurgence after that game. People on Twitter were talking about it. It was on ESPN. Like, oh my God, 49-year-old Jamie Moyer pitches 4 perfect innings. And I had to watch him do it against the Giants, and it just made my blood boil. Oh, man,
all the national sports writers that were tweeting about it made me sick.
Yeah, my blood was boiling as I read about this stuff. And so, Jamie Moyer, right now, dude, I hate you. I'm going to root for you to make it to the big league club, and go ahead and pitch until next year and be that 50-year-old dude who's doing it somehow. That's really cool, but, man, I hate you right now.
I think the irony that he signed with the Colorado Rockies, who perennially have the highest ERA of any major league team.
Right? It's going to make him not look so bad, though, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's his strategy.
It's just the altitude. It's not, it's just altitude.
That's a thin air. The humidor was broken today.
Yeah, the humidor was down. All right, so, Chad, why are we going to win it all, man?
Man, I didn't realize this until I was surfing the Giants MLB shop a couple of weeks ago. By the way, I picked up a flash deal, 2011 World Series champion Buster Posey authentic home jersey with the gold lettering for $50.
Nice, dude.
Normally $240.
Those are like $300, something like that. Wow.
Yeah, they were out in 5 minutes. So anyway, I just got it a couple of days ago. It's sweet. So anyway, I was on the site. I had no idea that they had an alternate road jersey coming back into the mix this year.
Nice. Oh, it's the old school Will Clark jerseys, dude.
It's the old school Will Clark jersey.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the SF is a little different. It's the modern SF, right? Or if you want to say correctly, the really old school SF with the pointy little corners and all that.
Yeah.
The late '80s SF was just smooth around the corners.
It was, it was like kind of like as if you actually drew the SF with like a pen or something.
In high school, I used to draw that SF religiously. religiously. That's what I doodled.
Yeah,
Seriously, I was late 80s in high school. I was just doodling that SF all the time. And now when they got all the pointy corners, I can't draw it anymore. But no, they brought the old school roadie back. I think it's sweet with the black pinstripes going down the center and around the collar and the SF on the left chest. I think that's great because I have an original authentic Rawlings roadie with 22 and my last name on it that I bought in 87. And then another home with a 22 and my last name on it when they actually had nameplates before they moved to AT&T that I bought in 88. So this is totally old school. I'm going to bust out the old school roadie for a couple of games this year, and people won't be able to tell the difference, and then, except for the font on the back.
You're going to bust it out at the World Series, though, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm going to say that we're going to win it all because Brandon Crawford will be, mark my words, this year, the most effective number 8 hitter in all of Major League Baseball. Watch. You know how the Phillies always love their fat catcher because he's like the best number 8 hitter in baseball,
Ruiz.
right? Yeah, Ruiz. Mm-hmm. I think Brandon Crawford is going to be that guy for everybody this year. He's gonna bat like, it's not gonna be crazy, but he's gonna bat like 260. He's gonna have some really important clutch hits throughout the season, and he's gonna make a difference as far as how many runs per game we get from that number 8 spot, because we don't expect it, but we're going to get it. Like, we're not expecting that production out of him. We're expecting solid defense and maybe a 220 hitter. But what we're going to get is closer to 250, 260 hitter, I think, and a guy who does all the little things right, hopefully, this year. I mean, that's, I think, what he's going to give us. He's going to be more aggressive in situations where there's 2 outs and a pitcher behind him. He's going to do all those little things right. And I think it's going to make a difference as far as runs per game because he's shown that he's not as helpless at the plate as everybody thought he was. And I know it's spring training, but I gotta say he's done it consistently from the beginning of spring training to now. He just doesn't look like the same hitter at all that we saw last year. So I think it's going to make a huge difference. Yeah,
he looks committed.
All right, that's going to do it. We missed Ben Lee this week, but you can still follow him on Twitter. He's at Fried Duck. And I think we're going to have a real special show next week, and Ben's got a lot to do with that. So stay tuned because TortureCast is we're going live, and it's going to be real cool. So I'm going to tease that a little bit now. I'm not going to tell everybody exactly what's going on. You can follow Chad at ChadK21 on Twitter. And you can also follow me. I'm at Willie Dills. And, of course, you can follow TortureCast. We are at TortureCast. Check out TortureCast on Facebook. Check out our blog, torturecast.com. If you want to email us, it's mail@torturecast.com. You can email each of us individually. It's just our names at torturecast.com. And we encourage anybody to do so. And leave comments on the blog post on the blog, too. It's got some really cool stuff going on there. I loved your article about the Tim Lincecum bobbleheads. I thought that was great. And, again, thank you for everybody for listening to TortureCast episode 25. This is the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. And, I know I say it always in the end of the podcast in my little pre-recorded thing, but I think it's really cool that Ashcon and Bailey let us use their song for our new intro. And our new intro pumps me the hell up.
Dude, it pumps me. Dude, it totally pumps me up.
I love it so much.
I love listening to that.
I love it so much. I love the one before. But I gotta say, it's the new hotness, dude. It's so good. Also, I want to say to everybody out there, go listen to the Giants Pod guys, GiantsPod.net. 2 guys, a glove and a Coke bottle. Those guys are fantastic. And you guys should follow Love for Pat the Bat on Twitter. I'm going to give her another shout out.
It came out.
She complained about it last week. She complained that we didn't give her a shout out. And but I've been reading her tweets. I love her tweets, man. I love Pat. No, I love Love for Pat the Bat. I'll say it right
Pat
now.
Too. Okay, fine.
Pat Burrell's a scout now. Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
that's rad. I'm glad the guy's sticking around.
What is he scouting exactly?
Racks and butts and after parties and he's I think the guy knows hitting. I think he's a good fit there. But anyway, thanks everybody listening to episode 25 of the TortureCast. My name is Willie Dills for Chad King and for the absent Ben Lee. We'll see you guys next time. Boom. A big thank you to everybody for listening to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.